Right, welcome back to Shed Creations. It's now 2024, can you believe? Hope you guys all had a lovely holiday and are having a wonderful new year to start off with. I'm going to start the new year off with a little simple, straightforward project, and as the year goes on, as things progress, hopefully the projects will get a bit bigger, a bit more interesting for you guys. But this one is going to be one of the mallets that I make. Really like making these, they're very simple, straightforward. This one I made, as I showed you before, out of oak and purple heart. And this face has had a good few wallops, as you can see, but it's a sturdy old thing. Handle, I made this one out of spalted beech, so it's a lovely pattern. I put a ring in it, with a hole in it, just so it can be hung. You could always put a nice bit of leather through it, make a nice little strap. It's entirely up to you. This next one that I'm going to make, I'm going to do a very similar thing. I've got an oak here, and I'm going to use some purple heart as well. I'm going to cut it all down to the right size, but I am going to make the head a bit smaller on the next one, just because I think it will be a little bit nicer to hold, a little bit nicer of a swing. I've got this oak post here. It is made up of several pieces of oak to make a lovely little post, and then I've got this oak rail which I'm going to use as the handle, as it's fairly close to being alright for a handle as it is. A little bit of shaping and it'll be spot on. I've then got some purple heart which I'm also going to cut down to the right sort of sizes. So next step is I'm just going to measure it all out, cut it all, and then hopefully it'll all be alright, and then I'll bring you back for that part before I go for heavy gluing up. Once it's all cut, ready to go, I'll bring you back. Now I am going to try to remember to do the splines in the handle on the next one, because this one I didn't. You can see it's just as it is, absolutely perfect as it is. I'm absolutely happy with that, but I think I'm going to do the splines on this next one just as a nice little bit of contrast again. I've got another African hardwood which is called Kia. It's quite an interesting wood. It's nice wood, very nice pattern to it. Has a very unique smell to it as you're cutting. Not the nicest, if I can admit, but it's interesting to say the least. So I'm happy with the sizes that I've got here. I'm just going to chop them down. I'm going to run this through my bandsaw, I think, just to get it as close as I can to where I want it. And we'll be good. And turn you so you can see my bandsaw. Hopefully you'll be able to see me cutting it rather than just me back. So all I'm going to do is split this straight in the middle, and that's going to be the width of the actual hammerhead then. So that's the main bulk of it done. I will bring you back once I've got it all pretty much set up, ready to go. I'll give the station a bit of a clean up as well. See you in a minute. Right, I have everything cut, ready for a block now. I'll give you a rough guide, or rough view if I can. it's going to basically be like that. Obviously everything will be centered off. Purple heart is a lovely contrast to this oak. This oak is quite a light colour compared to the other one. The handle is cut up there. Still needs a finishing on here to get it down to the size I actually like and that I want to use. That's going to be one of the next steps before I use the glue up. Just get it more to a happy size. Again, I'm going to use this one as a rough template just because it's a real good size. Get a nice grip anywhere along the handle. So I'm just going to use that one for a guide. It's fine that way, but it's going to be more that width that I'm going to be looking at. So let's give it a rough up. Let me turn you again so you can see what I'm doing. Just roughing it. I don't always do a lot of things the same. I like to wing it a little bit, so this is part of it. So I think now that that's down to that, once the edges have all been rounded off, I think it'll be pretty decent. I'll run that around on my router table now, just because I can get up to where the shoulder is. Or should I just do a sander? Might just do the sander. That's it roughly done. I'm going to move to my vise at the moment. I'm going to leave you up here. I'll tell you a little bit more. I'm going to take a bit of sandpaper and I'm just going to finish that off just by hand. Right, I don't know where my video cut off at that point, didn't see. I've got the handle roughly sanded down to a state where I'm happy with, giving everything a bit of a round over just by sandpaper and my sander. I'm really happy with how that's turned out. I might just knock down that shoulder a little bit. Next step, glue up. Now, as it's not going to be used with food or anything like that, obviously, it's just going to be a normal glue that I'm going to be using. Before I do that, I will find the centre of this and I'll mark it so I know that the middle of the handle will be in the middle of this. I've already got that marked. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. So I know that once I've got that in here, it'll be fine as it is. Now, when I do these, I do just lather it with glue because I don't want it coming apart. These glue balls are rubbish. It's a downside to having a cold workshop. Get rid of as much of the excess glue as you can now. Just makes it a bit nicer. So you can then see also your joints and stuff as well. Make sure everything is sitting together properly. Right, I would say it's done, but it's not quite. But it's in glue up at least. Now the next thing is leave it to dry. I'm going to leave it to dry probably until tomorrow. So, well, for you it'll be a few minutes or a few seconds, but for me it'll be till tomorrow. Alright, now time to take the hammer out of the clamps. It's been sitting in the clamps for a couple of days now. Don't normally leave stuff this long, but been a bit of a busy one, so left a minute. Not the end of the world. At the moment, it's still big and chunky. It's actually going to end up being wider than what my one is already, but I am going to shorten it so it'll be more of a square hammer rather than an oblong one like that, or a rectangle one, should I say. So I've got to whack in the wedges on top here, get those glued up, get them in there. That won't take too long, and then just trim everything up. That's all it is. Trim it up. The handle, I might take a bit more off when I do the round over for the head of the hammer. I'm going to give it a round over on the handle again, and then just to see if I can get it feeling a little bit nicer, just because more so where the thumb is, it just feels a bit more, no, it feels too blocky basically. Now the only reason I'm using this glue for that is just because it's got a better control over the nozzle. Let's give the mallet a go. Right, so now I'm going to use the bandsaw just to trim up all the edges, and then I'm going to take it down to what its final size will be. I'm not 100% set on what it is going to be. It's 6.5 at the moment. Yeah, so that's what it's going to be. Having a little think about it in my head just to make sure I'm going to be happy with the size, because I don't want it to be too odd looking. So I've decided I'm going to take 3/4 of an inch off either end. And then see what it looks like from there, because we can always take more if we want. Happy with that. So let's get cutting. I need to mark it all over first, don't I? Now we can go ahead and cut them. Now if you spotted that before I did, well done you. Won't actually go through because of the handle and the handle. Got there in the end. So that's a bit more of the finished size. It's still got a lot of rounding over to do, make it look a bit prettier. But size-wise, it looks a bit chunky. I'm actually quite happy with that. Let me turn you back this way. Got a couple of interesting bits as well to do something with later. So, next step. I'm contemplating on 45 in this, on the corners. Not 100%. I don't want to take too much off because I do want it to have a good actual face to hit things with. I think what I'll do first, I'll round it over and then we'll see where we go. Alright, I'll turn you a bit more. I'm impressed by them. It's actually left quite a nice edge on it. I did skip a step, so I do need to go back and give this an actual sand over and get everything all nice and smooth. Then I will run it back over the router afterwards, just to get it nice and clean. Like that part. Yeah, let's carry on. Right, carrying on with this. I've got it clamped up like this now, just I'm working on the handle. Just going to give these edges a bit more of a smoothing. See if I can get them sitting a bit nicer. Sand down this part, which is a harder part to get to. So I've got it clamped up like this. And then I'm going to put the router table back up and give the whole thing another going over. I was going to go over the handle with the router as well, but I think I'll be alright with it. Once I've sanded the handle down a bit more, I think we'll be good. So let's crack on. got the router table set up again. I've changed a bit out now. I decided I'm going to go with the chamfer bit instead. I've taken the fence off just because it's going to enable me to get right around the edges of the hammer a lot easier. Yeah, so we're almost there. I'm happy with how the handles turned out. It's got a little bit of a chamfer back on it again. That's all done by hand, so it's not perfect, almost perfect sort of looking thing, but you know, it feels good in your hand and it'll give a good wallop, I can tell you. So, first thing I like to do when I set up my router and I want to decide how much of a chamfer I'm going to go for, because of the way my table is, I basically just run a bit of scrap wood along it and it gives me a guide from there. So let's go a bit of MDF. Now I will say these bits that I've got are absolutely amazing. They're just ripping through all the material. But that's too much of a chamfer. I don't want that deep chamfer on it, so let's drop it down a bit. Give it another go. So there's not much difference in that depth that I've just changed there, but it's enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and just use the router now and just run straight over the mallet. Catch up with you in a minute. Now, that's the finish we got. It's turned out really well. Last bit is obviously just a final sanding. Just give it all a little smooth over on the faces. And then what I like to do is I make my own wood wax. I apply a load of wood wax on it, let it soak all the oils out of the wax. So overnight or a couple of nights, whatever it may be. And then they'll be good to go. So I do the last bits of sanding by hand. I might do the faces with my palm sander. I might just do that just because it speeds it up a little bit and then I can finish this off a little bit nicer. Let's crack on and do that. Before we do that, let's put the table away. Right, you get the gist of what I'm doing. I'll get it back when I'm doing the waxing. Right, so the mallet has had a good sanding now. Rounded all over, shaped. I'm actually quite happy with the size of it. Obviously in comparison, it's much smaller, but it is thicker. So it's a chunky old boy. That's what it looks like. Now this one I am going to gift to someone, so I wanted to get it all nice. They've helped me out with sourcing some bits and pieces, so I thought it'd be a nice little thing to give them. Yeah. So I just, like I say, give it a good soaking or good smothering with the wood wax, and then just leave it to sit in. Whether it be overnight, whether it be for a couple of nights, doesn't really matter. It's just going to soak as much oil as it can out of this. I don't like using just a mineral oil on its own, just because I find that it does leave a lot of stuff, whether it be boards or hammers and stuff like that, mallets. It leaves it too oily for my liking. And obviously you get the bleed out over a certain amount of time. Well, you can do if you don't let it drain properly. So that's the other thing with it. It's time consuming with the mineral oil. When I do my boards for custom orders, if you need anyone yourself, give us a shout. I give a tin of the wood wax that I make free with it, just so they can keep reapplying as the time goes on. It's just a nice thing to keep doing. Every couple of weeks, or every week to start off with, after it's had a good clean, give it a good coating of the wood wax. So, spare me hands. That's what it looks like after the coating, and you can see some of the colours and everything all coming out now as well. So now, just leave it to dry. I don't like leaving it flat on the surface, so I have a couple of bits of cuts that I keep just for this purpose, and it's just leaving it so it's just off the surface, like I say, so the air can get right around it, and it'll just draw as much of that in as possible. So that's that done. I'll get a shot of it before I give it away, and obviously so you guys can see the finished article. But basically that is the job done. Catch you on the next one. See you soon. So the mallet now has had probably a good day and a half, maybe a bit more, with the wax on it soaking in. Now it's time for a big reveal. Get all the dust and the wax and that off, because it's still sitting in my workshop. That does get very dusty in there. But I do like the way the wax, the oils in the wax, bring out the colours. If you are interested in any of the mallets or anything else that I make on these videos, you can always go to the website. I am updating it a bit more regularly now. Going to try and keep up on top of that, but it's a one-man band, so it's a bit tricky to do the videos, the editing, and all the updates and on the website and that still. But we'll get there. It's that one all done. Colours have come out lovely in it. Where the grain for the purple heart comes out. I'll try and take some pictures of them as well, just so you maybe able to get a better view of it. I'll show you the difference. Let me give this one a bit of a clean up. I ain't had a clean for a while. This was a darker oak that I used for this one, but I can show you the difference in size. That looks a bit better. This one does get used a lot as well. So that's that one I made previously. That's that one. Now, even though the head is actually shorter, it is thicker, and I tell you, just even by holding them side by side like that, this one is heavier, definitely heavier. Now you can see that was being used. Got a few divots in the end, all chunks, but it's not coming apart at all. So I am proper chuffed with them. So yeah, again, that's the end of this one. If you like anything, go to the website, or even just give me a link, a shout on here. And that's it for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.